All right, joining us now to take a look at Nigeria's foreign policy and transnational security challenges in West Africa is Dr. Julie Sanda, who is the Director, Training Center for Strategic Research and Studies at the National Defense College. Thank you so much for joining us on News Night tonight.
Welcome,
it's a delight
Dr.
to have you. First off, let's even establish why or how come Nigeria has not been able to throw her weight as a big brother in Africa in influencing her, transnational security. What exactly are those challenges?
The challenges are multiple, but basically, I would put it down to, the domestic challenges that Nigeria has had to deal with itself, in the recent past. And, it's difficult when we are dealing with so many challenges at home to be able to project leadership outside. Because the obvious question would be, what do you have to offer? Of course, we do have a lot to offer, but because of the challenges at home and just trying to deal with what is happening at home, somehow we have lost the edge, as it were, in projecting leadership outside.
Are you saying Nigeria, up until now, has not really had a clearly defined, foreign policy that can actually reflect positively on her transnational security? Is that what it is?
Oh, Nigeria has had a very vibrant foreign policy. Right from independence, it has been very clearly spelled out. But that foreign policy happens, within a specific context, a specific environment. Foreign policy, to be truly effective, must be a reflection or an extension of what is happening domestically, and then you take it outside in pursuit of national interest. And if there's a disconnect, then of course it hampers what you can project outside. And you will, if we look back in history, we know that there are periods in our life as a nation where we have had challenges, daunting challenges at home, that have kind of, dimmed the edge of the sword for us in terms of projecting leadership outside. And so many things also play in this, in carrying out your foreign policy outside. It's institutions, it's personalities, it's your partners, whether bilateral or multilateral, your diplomacy and all of that. And so sometimes we've not quite gotten it in one or two of some of these areas.
Interesting. Doctor, charity, they say, begins at home, but yet again, we cannot clap with one hand. So how can Nigeria influence dominant global powers and their policies towards West Africa in this regard?
You're absolutely right. Nigeria, to be able to really do what it needs to do, Nigeria must, clearly project its priorities as a nation in its relations with countries outside. Now, part of the problem Nigerians have had is to say, when they see certain foreign policy stances of government, is what is in it for us as Nigerians? So there must be that clear linkage for Nigerians to see that they are at the center, they are at the core of whatever foreign policy we're doing outside. Then it gives you greater clout outside, when people see that you are about your people, you are about the welfare of your people, you are about the security of your people.
Right.
And these are things that you can then project outside, and your people will support you. But when there's a lack of trust or confidence that, we are at the center of the foreign policy, then, you're kind of stunted in what you're doing outside. Nigeria has a lot of goodwill, quite all right, from certain quarters. But of course, you cannot run away from the fact that other countries will also pursue their national interest. And wherever they see a vacuum, they will take advantage of it.
Absolutely. It's a balancing act between, what is beneficial for you and what can really be mutually beneficial. But let's talk about, you had this, program today. What were the high points in terms of way forward? How best Nigeria can begin to use her influence as, the largest black nation on earth, and all the big things that Nigeria actually stands for. What are your recommendations?
So first, we reiterated that yes, Nigeria needs to play in that leadership role, because these security threats are also about our own security. So that's the first thing. It's not that you're doing it because you want to help somebody else, that which is good in itself, but it's also tied to our own security. So we have to clearly define that. And then we have to wake up our institutions, as it were, and empower them really to do what they need to do. And the timing of this seminar is so that we can be part of the conversation as the new government charts a path to bring foreign policy out into the public discourse. Because we looked at the elections, the campaigns, foreign policy was not, very prominent in much of the discussion. So part of our recommendation, one of our recommendations is that we must keep foreign policy out on the front burner. So that Nigerians will know what is happening, what their government is doing in their name, and for them. And once the government has the backing of its people, then it will have more confidence in projecting leadership outside. And of course, government must fund foreign policy, its institutions.
What are the most significant transnational threats to West Africa in the first place?
Well, terrorism it's all over West Africa. If you look from Mali to Burkina Faso to Niger to wherever, it's all across the Sahel, And of course, even the countries towards the coast are worried, about the push down towards the coast. So that's one of the biggest threats. But of course, in all of that happening with terrorism, there's all kinds of transnational crime, organized crime that is going on. Drug trafficking is going on, human trafficking is going on, smuggling in arms, which is a major enabler for all this stuff that is going on. So there's a whole mix of organized crime that is going on in all of this, because it's a sort of quote unquote ungoverned space, where they have a field day, as it were, to do whatever they like. And because we are still working out our frameworks and our capacities to deal effectively with it in West Africa, there are of course those who take advantage from other regions and come and join forces.
Right. Thank you so much. Dr. Julie Sanda, Director of Training Center for Strategic Research at the Nigeria Defense College. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much for having me.